Hi, and welcome to Street Talk. Today we have a guest who I've known for a while now, years maybe, Edward Hertzman, who's formerly the founder of Sourcing Journal and other things. You spent a lot of time, in the textile industry and sourcing years, I think. But I got to know you at Sourcing Journal, and then you left and you founded Athletech News, which we'll talk about, and then you have some new things in the works. So, Eddie, welcome.
Arthur, great to see you.
What is tell us about Athletech? What was the impetus behind creating this platform? What was your ideas?
Arthur, as you know, I don't come from fitness and wellness and health. To that industry, I was an outsider, a real outsider. So I had to really, they were like, well, who is this guy? So I spent, the first 10 years of my career in sourcing, actual manufacturing most of the time in South Asia, Pakistan, Bangladesh, China, India. That was kind of the influence for Sourcing Journal. Obviously, then I sold it over to Penske. That's where you and I got to spend a lot of time together in the Fairchild Group. And to the credit of Penske, when I was there, I saw how really every single industry had their publication of record. Variety for film and Billboard for music, and even Art in America for art. And, I go to Vegas, a dozen times a year, and the pizza show and the pizza journal. And you're like, how come there is nothing? It's very big business. I was sitting at the table, say, what do you sell, pepperoni? Actually, I do, and, and, I remember in 2019, I was reading a report by CB Insights about deal flow and at home and connected fitness. And I had it was intellectual curiosity. I'm like, oh, I want to see more, read more. And I couldn't find anyone that was really the WWD of the space. And so there were a couple small players, and I don't know, not the sophistication, the polish that I think you and I are used to that big media companies produce. Not a knock at them, but I thought there was opportunity there. And to me, it just seemed like a white space that, I did it once. And I'll be honest, I had a lot of reservations. What do they say? Once lucky, twice good. I don't know. Maybe it was just at the right place, the right time. Can I do it again? And that's it. I went all in. I didn't have any market research. I didn't hire a consulting firm. I just literally let's start.
But it's a multi-billion dollars industry and growing. It's like one of the few industries that are on like a rapid growth rate. So I think you timed it the right way. And it's not a fragmented industry. I mean, I'm new to it too, learning about it. A full disclosure, I've been, writing some articles for you guys, but it seems like there's such potential. And you cover franchises, there's supplements, nutrition, there's equipment, there's obviously technology that runs all of it. It's endemic to its to doing a business, and it spans it ranges from small mom and pops to larger SMBs to big corporate companies. So I think and the growth is steady. It seems to be steady, although there's been some hiccups. But how do you see the industry evolving? Like what's next? Like how does it go on from here?
So I think what's really hard about that question is, what is the industry? This is the opportunity and the challenge. It is so fragmented, Arthur. But, it reminds me of like the late 90s, early 2000s in fashion. You'd go to Magic and I would write 1221 orders for all the little mom and pops. And oh my God, if Macy's East didn't buy from you, well, you still had Macy's West. There was an opportunity. Like, and today, if you're not in TJ Maxx or Costco or Federate, you don't exist in some way. There's only so many buyers that have scale. There is no buyers that have scale, right? Like, if even the biggest in the world, the Crunches and the Planet and the Expos, they're still percentage points of the overall market. So you have fitness, you have wellness. And what's wellness? Is it beauty brands? Is it recovery? Is it red light? You have longevity. You have functional medicine. You have the Pronovos. I just did a scan last Friday. You have function health. Like, there's a lot of people trying to democratize longevity. It's a very, very expensive category. I went to Extension Health a few weeks ago. That's $250,000 a year. I didn't pay that candidly, but my friend's a CEO. It's amazing. So how do you bring down the price? So it's not one or the other. It's the intersection of this. Now you see Escape and Function partnering with the Equinox. You see the Hiltons and the Hyatts incorporating fitness and wellness. So it's all the commercial and residential architects and developers are trying to incorporate fitness and wellness into it. Kohler, so the question is, I think I am at the right place at the right time, but candidly, there's a lot of money flowing into the industry. There's a lot of reports, UBS, that you're probably referencing the UBS report that came out, Global Wellness Institute. Everyone is projecting how big this industry will be. But since it's so young, you see revenue flowing to the top line, but not a lot to the bottom line. And so the
Uh,
question is for companies like ours and in early stage investors, how patient can we be? Because they're not the budgets, there's not the profit yet to invest like a more mature category. So there is no, we go to Shop Talk and we see these massive boots and everything. It's still not really there yet for this industry.
and what do you do? I mean, you have the website, you have a growing newsletter. Do you have any events as well, or
Yeah. So in 2025, we did a CEO summit at NASDAQ, which was amazing, half the day. And we had the likes of, the CEO of Aura, and we have the Cattertons of the world. And we had some really, really big speakers. And then we did that for half a day. Then we all got to ring the bell, which I'll tell you it was really amazing positioning for us, because when you have 100 companies all posting, and it became a real viral moment, but I think it gave us a lot of credibility as an organization. Then we do some pop-ups. We partner with HFA. We do some parties. But the big moment for us was our innovation summit in June, Center 415, 30,000 square feet, 2 stages, a recovery lounge, a wellness lounge. And we had some of the coolest and most innovative products. You had the A Escape, that's the robotic massage. We had a Mortal there. We had One Hype doing brain scanning. We had scanning. We had NAD drips. We had Shift Wave on top. And then we had the techno gyms and the e-gyms. And we had people like Gary Brecka speak. We had, again, CEO of Canyon Ranch. We had major hotel. We had Princeton Equity, Catterton, VMG, North Castle. So it was, again, this intersection. We brought a group of people together that never really were in the room. So I use the analogy, and I'm taking a lot of liberty here because I'm nowhere near this, but it's like, how do you create the YPO meets Davos meets Sun Valley for this
right?
industry? I aspire to that. And so that's what we're aiming to do.
The other thing that I find interesting, like you talked about that, how it's fragmented, but there's a lot of crossover. Like I didn't realize how important hospitality and spa is to wellness. I mean, people plan vacations and destinations around that wellness, right?
So we had the president of the International Luxury Hotel Association speak, a gentleman named Barack, and he said something to me. We were doing a prep call, and he corrected me. He says, "Ed, you have to think about this a little bit differently." And I said, "Okay, what do you mean?" He goes, "There are places you go to get healthier. Like I'm actually going to Shaw, Mexico. These are places you go, Canyon Ranch, the ranch, where for 4 or 5 days you're doing assessments, you're doing blood work, you're doing a hot and cold therapy. You may even do, then colonics, whatever it may be. You have diets. There's no alcohol. There could be like I have no chicken, no steak, no alcohol, no caffeine. Is this a vacation or is this punishment? But you're supposed to leave feeling better. The point of these places, you're supposed to leave feeling better than you arrived. There's a very specific purpose. It's expensive. All right. Then you have tomorrow, I say, Arthur, I need you to go on a business trip. The expectation now of a hotel guest is they don't want to leave worse off than when they came. So whether you belong to Crunch or Equinox, you want to know that that hotel has enough so that you can maintain what you're doing. So I don't want to miss 3 or 4 days of my workout. So they're feeling the pressure now to make sure that their amenities and facilities match what people have back at home. Because I think, back in the day, you took your daughter on a vacation. You probably looked, is there free buffet? Is there
Right.
pool access? Is there a balcony? Like, what were the things you thought about, right? Now, one of the decisions or one of the factors that people are really considering when making a decision on where to stay on a business trip or just a vacation is the fitness and wellness amenities. They don't need a haircut. They don't need a massage. They actually want fitness, and they may want a cold plunge, red light, sauna. So there's a lot of retrofitting going on. And I think the hotels used to look at this as a loss leader. This is an expense. Now they're looking at this as actually a necessary amenity to retain people.
The other crossover too is the beauty industry. People, as you know, like people concerned with what goes into their body, but also on what's on their body. And I think wellness plays into that, right? That's part of that kind of ecosystem, right?
Well, I think what's happening right now is I think there's a wellness washing going on. Every
Okay.
company is trying to say, oh, you think everyone's either a wellness company or an AI company, right? So it's a little complicated because what constitutes wellness? But I think a lot of the beauty brands are positioning themselves as wellness companies for good reason, right? Is wellness how you feel, how you look, it's very interconnected, right? If you feel better, if you look better, you may feel better. Also, people are so concerned about the toxic chemicals. That is something that's people are becoming obsessive about this. And when you have the Hubermans and the Peter Attiases and the Gabrielle Alliances, you have these podcasters that would have seemed fringe 10 years ago are now mainstream, almost celebrities. And they're telling you, you can't have candles in your house. You can't have this fragrance in your house. You can't have this soap. You can't have the soap. Oh, that dishwasher detergent you're using is killing you. Oh, this is killing you. This is poisoning you. Microplastics. So now that translates to the beauty industry. This is something that you're putting on your body every single day. But I think you're going to see the beauty companies also make a lot of strategic acquisitions of pure play wellness companies in the coming years to continue to gain market share. It's not going to be about lipstick. It's going to be about other things.
And is that part of that? I mean, do you see more experiential, sort of like, when I go into Ulta Beauty and have more of an experience based on wellness than I maybe did in the past? Is that like an opportunity you see?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of these things are hard to understand. Why should Ulta or Sephora or any company that lose out on a red light mask or a red light panel or some of the I don't know, vibration plates, or there's so much stuff that I just used the Normatec boots last night. Is that something they can't sell? Like, it's the same customer
Yeah.
mindset. But I do think, to your point, to understand, I used the Normatec boots once at an event. I was sold. I'm like, oh my God, I need to have those. So some of these things are going to require a little bit more touch and feel. I think that's why you see the Pelotons and the Tonals, they popped up these showrooms, very much like the Bonoboses did or have done, because unless you could experience and touch and feel the product, it's really hard to make that type of purchase just over the internet. So I think the short answer is yes. And you're seeing a lot of consumer wellness events and activations pop up. And that's a real good opportunity for product sampling and in person.
Let's switch gears and talk about. I would say it's a soft launch of Hertzman Global Intelligence. Is that
Yep.
HGI? What is that? Tell us about that platform and what was behind launching that.
So, obviously, I created Sourcing Journal back in 2008, 2009. I feel that history's kind of repeating itself a little bit. And I want to be careful what I say because I have nothing but respect for Penske, for the other competitors out there, whether it's WWD, Business of Fashion, Glossy, they do a really, really good job. Front of the house, news, features. But I feel that the upstream voices are getting left out a little bit. The people on the ground in the factories, on the ground running supply chain companies. And it's becoming so fast, right? Like, oh my God, de minimis is gone. Oh my God, there's a tariff here. Oh my God, this is happening. And I think that the market's changed a little bit. So I don't believe the traditional media model is going to work for a sector like this. So what do I mean is, if it's announced that de minimis is gone, back in the day, Arthur, you and I would go out, talk to law firms, custom brokers, and we would try to sell a webinar against that.
Right.
By the time you would sell that and you would then interview, program, Cass would get all the artwork and his team would get the creative. That could be 2-3 months down the road. We want 30 to 45 days to promote. You need to be able to say today, tomorrow, tune in, 12 o'clock. We have this person, and they're going to explain it. Okay, your goods are on the water. You're fine. No, starting tomorrow, you're not fine. People panic. Oh my God, I have something. What do you do? And I think that requires more of like an expert network. I think that requires people that are literally on call and can respond to this. We're not going to write, Saks is having credit issues. There's enough
Right.
people that are doing that. I think it's really, and here's the other thing. And you know this well as a journalist that's covered the space for decades. If we call a retailer right now, they're going to say, oh yeah, inventory's fine, cash fine, tariffs, yeah, fine. We call a factory, they're like, it's a disaster. People are canceling orders. They're making us hold on to fabric for 90 days. They're asking for 90-day open terms. They want this, they want this. So what's the truth? Also, I've written a couple op-eds, and not that I'm a writer, let's say about under invoicing, the use of DDP and foreign brokers for under invoicing. Is that a commercial topic? Can I get a sponsor for that? No, but does that mean I don't do it? And I think that it's not, I'm not trying to be a 10 million impression a month site. I'm trying to really be an intelligence platform for top executives, top investors in the category. And I'll tell you, look, in 6 months, and you're right, I did very little promotion. 40,000 people have already signed up. And we have been able with our relationships to bring a lot of these people back into the fold. So in 2026, we're going to aggressively hire more. We're going to increase the amount of content, and we're just going to build. And I'll see where it goes. I think you create value, then the audience comes, and when the audience comes, then you can figure out how to commercialize it.
We have a former colleague, Evan Clark with WWD, and he was always worried. He would do these like he would invest a lot of time in these very analytical stories, deep dive into a relevant issue with insights, different voices to your point about what is the truth. And he would be so excited and would drop the story and he would get like 73 views. And he would be so upset. And I'm like, but who are those 73 people? Like those, if you're reaching 73 people, those are people who are really interested in that topic. So keep at it. And then literally, like 2 months later, think it was the CEO summit, an investor came up to him and said, that was a great story. He praised him. He said it helped him create a better informed decision in the market decision making. That's the point, right? Is that
Yeah.
are you convening the right people? Are you reaching the
But
right people? Right?
but as a media model, that's not indirect, that's not programmatic, that's not e-commerce. That's not, hey, I have 1 million people on a newsletter and, people are going to click and buy something and I'm going to get a percentage of that revenue back. This is high ticket subscriptions, closed door networking, summits. But maybe it's not a summit in New York. Maybe it's a summit in Dubai, because that's how you get all of South Asia. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it, all that much. I'm not even going to worry about events to 2027, but that is more where my head is. The type of stuff Evan did is the exact,
They're after you.
the type of stuff that Evan did is the exact type of stuff that I want to do more of, because I find a lot of value in that. And I agree with you. When an article gets 50,000 views, sometimes that's because there's a lot of consumers reading it. There may be mainstream consumer appeal. I don't think there's 10,000 people that really care about under invoicing. I can't go to my mother and have that to be dinner conversation. But if you're a CEO or president or chief supply chain officer or in the legal department of a wholesaler or retailer right now, what are we talking? Hundreds of people,
Yeah.
maybe low thousands. That's it. That's the story for them. So it's got to be a different model. That has to be a different model. And
What we just have.
I also will say, and you and I have had many, many therapy sessions on this topic. What is the goal? I don't think any of these businesses I'm building are $100 million or $1 billion companies. And I look in the mirror and I have a lot of intellectual honesty. Is it a $5 million business? Is it a $10 million business? It could be even smaller. But if you have a small, profitable business and you create a lot of value and to me, that's the goal. So again, I'm not saying that HGI could be 100 million. No, then you need to have millions and millions of people and you need to have, it's a different business model. Again, to me, it's
You know,
more of like an expert network. It's more of a YPO meets Bloomberg than it is, ESPN.
hey, yeah, we just have a few minutes left, but I just want to get your take on, we're late in the year now. We're looking at 2026. What is your perspective? How do you see from a sourcing and also retail perspective? What's what does the future hold? Is it going to be like permanent disruptions? Is that just the new kind of way of living?
Well, it's funny. I wrote an article for Fast Company a couple of years ago. It was like, when will the supply chain return to normal? How about never? And I think that's a thing, like to think that when is it going to be calm? Because there's always going to be something. Okay, we had the 301 tariffs. Oh my God, now we have the container issues. Okay, now we have the tariffs. Oh, now we have this. Now we have that. 10 years ago, there was a cotton crisis. There was Rana Plaza. There's always going to be something that actually, frankly, it's getting more complicated. Oh, now there's EPR. Oh, I have to worry about all these sustainability and regulations on top of the tariffs? Yes. Oh, and now I need to know where every single one of my fiber come from because of the Forest Protection Act, the Uyghur Forest Protection. How am I supposed to do that? You're right. It's hard. And I think what you're seeing is almost, back in the day, you needed to have the quota, right, to bring goods in. So there was a big barrier to entry to get into this business. 5 years ago, Arthur, if you and I wanted to start Arthur's T-shirts, we could go to Shopify and Alibaba and launch a site. It's harder to do that today. So the short answer is there's going to be continued disruption. I also think the old playbook is not going to work anymore.
Yeah.
Runway shows, magazine ads, build up, have showrooms. First of all, the supply chain is becoming incredibly, incredibly important. And I think that having a reactive supply chain, we've been studying the Zara model for decades, and very few people, if any, know how to replicate that. That's not about chasing the lowest price. That's about getting the goods in fast. If they check replenishing, and if they don't, you have very little to mark down. And if you do, it's not going to hurt you. You can't have a 6 to 9 month calendar where I'm going to make a bet. How can I buy 100,000 of these sweaters? How about if you buy 360 or 40? If it works, I can get right back in a couple weeks. So that, and also I think the way people connect with customers, the role of content, social commerce, all these things are changing. So I don't think you're going to see the old guard change. I think you're going to see a lot of new players come in. I think that's going to be the key. And I think you're going to see more supply chain and sustainability officers go to the C-suite and actually start these companies. Tech people start these companies, then you are going to see, traditional wholesalers trying to launch a new business. The model's not going to work. So you're going to see a whole new cast of characters.
All right. Well, we're going to have you come back maybe mid-year and see how this plays out. I think you're totally right. It's it's a new ball game, and the old ways don't work anymore. So
100%.
thank you so much. Eddie, good seeing you. Good catching up with you. And thanks for tuning in.
All right, Armin.